Welcome to Timekeeping. This show will attempt to chronicle year-by-year changes to the Walt Disney World Resort, from the excitement of a new ride opening to the minutia of a store changing names. Join us as we celebrate 50 years of the vacation kingdom of the world. As with the rest of the world, 2020 at the Walt Disney World Resort was dominated by response to COVID-19. The unprecedented nearly 4-month shutdown led to layoffs, extensive new procedures, limited capacity, and other changes to the parks and resorts. New leadership for the company didn't help matters either. Even before the closures, 2020 was shaping up to be an eventful year, and obviously with them, proved to be even more so. Prior to the closure, there were more changes to the arrival procedures at the Transportation and Ticket Center. On March 12th, the new security screening area opened, followed March 13th by the new tram drop-off area. Once inside the Magic Kingdom, a new digital tip board appeared on Main Street on March 13th. The parked Walt Disney World Railroad experience moved from Main Street to Storybook Circus on January 27th. Moving into Adventureland, the unthemed tip boards installed in 2019 received its theming on January 15th. On February 27th, one of the Jungle Cruise's wheelchair-accessible boats, the Bomacondi Bertha, sank, forcing guests to evacuate through the jungle scenes. In Liberty Square, the Muppets Present Great Moments in History, but just the American parts, received another encore run from February 15th through the 17th. A new standing counter area was added to the Liberty Square Market seating area around one of the planters. On February 8th, Big Top Souvenirs received new, more generic carpeting after a flooding incident in response to a fire. In Tomorrowland, a report of a small fire closed the Tomorrowland Transit Authority on January 2nd, but it soon reopened with the ascending speed ramp closed. The attraction did again close on March 9th and remain closed for the remainder of the year. Obviously, some of that during the COVID-19 closure. Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin received some queue modifications, including a new dividing wall and the themed console removal in early February. EPCOT's transformation was in full swing at the beginning of 2020 and continued throughout. The west side of the entrance plaza closed on January 3rd. Mouse Gear closed on January 5th and moved to the northern half of Innoventions East in a temporary location. The walkway behind it would reopen. Joy moved into the Imageworks for her meet and greet location. France, China, and Mexico would receive new music loops with versions of appropriate Disney songs on January 8th. 3 new films opened on January 17th for the start of the Festival of the Arts: Awesome Planet at the Land, Canada Far and Wide, replacing O Canada in the Canada Pavilion, and the Beauty and the Beast sing-along in France. Awesome Planet taught ecology through presenting a real estate listing for Earth as narrated by Ty Burrell. Canada Far and Wide was an updated Circle Vision travelogue film, hosted this time by Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara. Beauty and the Beast sing-along is a sing-along that retcons LeFou as the hero of the film as he worked behind the scenes to bring Belle and the Beast together. The film is shown during the day, while a newly enhanced Impressions de France would be showed after 7 p.m. Gateway Gifts closed on January 13th, followed by the gift shop and package pickup outside the park entrance on January 18th. Gateway Gifts reopened on the 19th. On January 24th, more of the paths behind Innoventions East opened as more of the former Fountain of Nations Plaza closed. New planners were revealed by the Travelers Cafe. February 14th saw the debut of new infinity mirror signs at the Camera Center/Pin Traders. On February 15th, new Fastpass Plus kiosks opened outside of Test Track with the new World Discovery theme. On the 16th, the Electric Umbrella Restaurant, Pin Central, and whatever was left of Innoventions Plaza would close. Following that, walkways would open connecting to the north of the Innoventions building next to the Energy Pavilion in what had formerly been backstage space. The Muppet-themed Regal Eagle Smokehouse opened at the American Adventure on February 19th. On February 20th, the park was officially renamed from EPCOT, with the E in uppercase and PCOT in lowercase, to the all-capitalized EPCOT, sort of a return to form from when it was Epcot Center. The East Security Screening opened outside the park on March 4th, and on March 5th, new seating opened in the Advanced Training Lab portion of Mission Space. The poles used as homes for the purple martin birds that were moved in December were opened when their first arrivals appeared in early March. Walt Disney Presents at Disney's Hollywood Studios hosted an Onward preview starting February 7th. February 22nd saw several entertainment offerings close or become seasonal. The Star Wars A Galaxy Far, Far Away show closed permanently, while Frozone, Mike Wazowski, and Bo Peep meet and greets were set to become seasonal. The same day, cast previews began for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. The attraction officially opened on March 4th, along with its small gift shop and the Mickey Shorts Theater. Runaway Railway puts guests into the middle of the cartoon world of a Mickey Mouse short after a train explosion rips a hole in a movie screen. They join Goofy on a train ride in a cartoon to watch Mickey and Minnie go on a picnic before they're separated from the locomotive. The mice then attempt to rescue the guests from the Wild West, a carnival, a twister, a reference to a Wizard of Oz scene that was never installed in the Great Movie Ride, a volcano, under the sea, a busy city, from dance lessons with Daisy, and a factory before reuniting with the train at the park for a picnic. The ride relies heavily on projections mixed with limited and sometimes odd audio animatronics figures. The attraction does include several references, as noted, to the Great Movie Ride, the first of which, inside that twister, there's actually a mailbox that says, "No place like home," of course another reference to the Wizard of Oz. Also inside, you'll find a trash can just outside the factory where a cat noise emanates from as the trash can rattles. Of course, in the gangster scene of the Great Movie Ride, your host would rattle this trash can and scare the cat, and thus this sound effect would play. Also at the carnival, you'll find a poster for the Great Moving Ride, which shows guests riding on an escalator, perhaps a joke that maybe the Great Movie Ride was a little dated or boring. I will leave my comments out of this. The Mickey Shorts Theater features an original short cartoon about Mickey traveling the world and eventually going to the Walt Disney World Resort, and it features his actual shorts as the seats in the theater. The post-show area features several photo ops for different cartoons, including the much-beloved Potato Land. The only notable change to Animal Kingdom before the closure of the parks was shade structures that were added to Harambe Market on February 20th. At Disney Springs, Chicken Guy's expansion closed the Planet Hollywood store on January 7th. That's still not open. Ghirardelli's seating area reopened with new seating and a less industrial look theme on January 28th. Also in January, Irwin Pearl closed and Rustic Cuff opened in a pop-up location. In February, the Disney Plus booth closed and CityWorks Eatery and Poorhouse opened on the 6th. The Street Tacos truck closed on February 18th, and a new Cirque du Soleil sign began to appear on February 26th. Of course, the new replacement show for La Nouba, Drawn to Life, was supposed to debut the very next month. On January 25th, a new playground opened in the settlement area of Fort Wilderness. Citricos closed on March 10th for its intended transformation. Bob Chapek was hastily named CEO as Bob Iger stepped down from the position at the Walt Disney Company on February 25th. Iger would remain in more advisory role through 2021. The first hint of things to come in 2020 occurred on January 23rd when Shanghai Disneyland would close, followed by Hong Kong Disneyland on the 25th and Tokyo Disney Resort on February 29th. Hand-washing stations began to appear around Walt Disney World on March 11th, but then the previously unthinkable occurred. The Disney Cruise Line suspended sailings and Disneyland closed on March 14th, followed on March 15th by the Walt Disney World Resort and Disneyland Paris. Disney Springs would close on March 17th and the resort hotels on March 20th. These temporary closures, intended to be just for 2 weeks, would become more permanent. Of course, this temporary closure would be a permanent one for a few locations, such as Ample Hills Creamery, both their existing location at the boardwalk and the supposed upcoming location at Disney Springs, the Pearl Factory, The Void, the NBA Experience, Finding Nemo the Musical, Rivers of Light, and the then seasonal Primeval Whirl and Stitch's Great Escape, albeit Stitch's Great Escape really had closed several years earlier, and Disney just didn't want to admit that WDW&T was right. You know, that happens a lot. This was also the end of Fastpass Plus as we knew it. The Walt Disney World golf courses would remain open. With the impending reopening of Universal Orlando Resort just weeks away, Disney would commit to reopening at least Disney Springs. On May 20th, third-party operators at Disney Springs were allowed to reopen. On May 27th, the first Disney-operated locations would follow. Between May and July, nearly all of Disney Springs would return to service. Fort Wilderness and the Disney Vacation Club resorts began to reopen on June 22nd, save for Jambo House, which opened on July 10th. While the beach club villas were open, Stormalong Bay remained closed. A new Tri-Circle D Ranch opened at Fort Wilderness in June, even if it wasn't accessible to guests. The reason why the Tri-Circle D Ranch was moved, the Reflections Lakeside Lodge Resort, ended up being canceled due to COVID anyway, so in all, this never even needed to happen. Fantasia Gardens Miniature Golf reopened June 27th, and June 28th also saw Major League Soccer begin to play at the Wide World of Sports, with the players staying in a bubble at the Swan and Dolphin Complex. The Contemporary Resort and Pop Century both reopened on July 10th. While most of the resort restaurants and shops did reopen, they all featured more limited selections, and Topolino's Breakfast was the only character dining experience at the time. The characters did not come to your table, but instead interacted from afar. The Magic Kingdom would reopen on July 11th after cast and pass holder previews. Like the other parks, capacity was limited to approximately 25%, though 25% of what was never said. This was managed through a new park pass reservation system requiring guests to book what days they would be attending what parks in advance. Social distancing markers, pre-park entry temperature screenings, blocked-off seating, no parking trams, hand sanitizer present throughout, and dividers would be implemented for safety. Pre-shows and interactive touchpoints, including the fingerprint scanners, would also not operate at most locations. All of these precautions would vary between specific locations and would change throughout the rest of the year, with dividers being added to different queues and ride vehicles as time went on. Mask-free rest areas were also added to all of the parks, with the Magic Kingdoms at the Tomorrowland Terrace, Golden Oak Outpost, and Pete's Silly Sideshow. A fair amount of attractions reopened with the park on July 11th, but there were no traditional meet and greets. Unscheduled and distant character appearances and cavalcades would now allow guests to interact with characters in a safe way. The Magic Kingdom introduced 5 different cavalcades: the Royal Princess Processional, Mickey and Friends Cavalcade, the Fantasyland Friends Cavalcade, a Goofy Cavalcade, and Tinkerbell and the Lost Treasure. The newly remodeled walkway from the Contemporary Resort to the Magic Kingdom would reopen on July 11th as well, with a brand new security screening area. Disney Vacation Club booths began to reopen across the parks on July 17th. On August 3rd, the Diamond Horseshoe reopened, but not as its own establishment, but instead as overflow seating for the Liberty Tree Tavern, an interesting snapshot of the time at Disney parks. On August 10th, the signage for the now officially defunct Stitch's Great Escape was removed. August 11th saw the completion of Cinderella Castle's 50th anniversary paint job with rose pink, royal blue paint, and golden trim. While the Magic Kingdom would not host its signature after-hours parties for Halloween and Christmas in 2020, they did offer free added entertainment inside the parks. There was a series of Halloween cavalcades for guests to enjoy during that season, and then during the Christmas season, they would find a number of Christmas-themed cavalcades, projections on Cinderella Castle, and holiday meet and greets, including the return of the Muppets in Liberty Square, which began on November 6th. Contactless security screening came to the Transportation and Ticket Center on November 11th. The lower sections of the Tomorrowland Transit Authority People Mover supports were finished with their new white paint on November 23rd, and the upper supports on December 24th. The newly recolored interior facade of It's a Small World was uncovered on December 23rd. Disney's Animal Kingdom also reopened with a number of its shops, restaurants, and attractions on July 11th, as well as a new security screening area outside the park. At Kilimanjaro Safaris, Warden Wilson Matua, a character that had been part of the attraction since it opened in 1998, was removed from the pre-show video on November 20th, and a new goat enclosure opened at the finale of the attraction on December 14th. As far as character experiences at Disney's Animal Kingdom, they had cavalcades that would float around on boats around Discovery Island, including the Discovery River Character Cruise, Discovery Island Drummers, Donald's Dino Boat Bash, and Mickey and Friends Flotilla. EPCOT would reopen a few days later on July 15th. Distance entertainment offerings would include the Jammers, the Mariachi Cobre, and 3 cavalcades in the form of the Frozen Promenade, Mickey and Friends World Tour, and the Princess Promenade. The park also reopened with the Taste of the EPCOT International Food and Wine Festival already in place. On October 21st, Disney announced it would be taking over control of the Morocco pavilion after the previous owners had defaulted on payments. Towards the end of the year, they would offer a taste of the Festival of the Holidays, beginning on November 27th, featuring the return of the Voices of Liberty now singing carols at the America Gardens Theater in lieu of the Candlelight Processional. Most of the Morocco pavilion closed on December 10th for the Disney takeover, with Souk Al Maghreb reopening with generic Moroccan and Aladdin merchandise on the 12th, and Spice Road Table back to small plates menu on the 13th, a new Disney curated menu. On December 20th, the East Side security screening area would reopen with a new gray color palette. Disney's Hollywood Studios would also reopen with EPCOT on July 15th, returning again with the majority of its offerings other than entertainment. Star Wars Launch Bay would not return, however, it would instead become a mask relaxation station where guests could take off their masks indoors at a safe distance. As far as character appearances, they were relegated to motorcades, including the Disney Junior Stars motorcade with a song I still can't get out of my head, the Mickey and Friends motorcade, the Pixar motorcade as well. The former Grand Floridian Society Orchestra performed at the Theater of the Stars on Sunset Boulevard from August 2nd through their untimely dismissal on October 3rd as the Disney Society Orchestra and Friends. Contactless security was installed at the studios beginning on August 6th. The live-action Mulan preview opened in Walt Disney Presents on August 21st. Over at Disney Springs, July 30th would see Homecoming get a new bar on the Shine Bar patio, and the Love Pop booth and Pop Gallery would close. Lululemon was added to the town center on August 21st. On October 1st, Wolfgang Puck Express would permanently close in the marketplace. Love Pop opened its own new storefront on October 2nd. Lucky Brand would close and the Spice and Tea Exchange would open a tea bar on October 28th. Toomey closed on November 4th. Wonder Maid Gourmet Marshmallows opened on December 22nd outside of Paddlefish. Gideon's Bakery soft opened in the Landing on December 23rd. Fit to Run opened a new location inside the town center on December 29th. Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort would reopen on July 29th. On July 30th, the NBA season resumed at the Wide World of Sports with the players staying at Coronado Springs, the Grand Floridian, and the Yacht Club inside what was called the NBA Bubble. Disney's Yacht Club reopened to guests on August 24th, along with the Stormalong Bay area. Standard rooms at the Grand Floridian opened on September 21st, with boat service to the Magic Kingdom returning on September 27th. The Polynesian check-in area moved to Pago Pago on September 30th as the Great Ceremonial House began another set of renovations. The Keister Coaster water slide at the boardwalk closed on October 5th, with the nightmare-inducing clown face removed on October 14th. In classic Disney style, it returned as decals on some fencing on December 17th. Coronado Springs would reopen on October 16th, but also that day, Chef Mickey's character dining would return. On October 30th, the painting of the various road entrance archways to Walt Disney World began in preparation for the 50th anniversary. Art of Animation and the Friendship Boats on Crescent Lake both reopened on November 1st. November 2nd saw boats to the Magic Kingdom resume at the Polynesian as the monorail station for the resort closed for refurbishment. Capacity at the theme parks was announced to be raised to 35% as of November 12, 2020. The long-awaited walkway connecting the Magic Kingdom and the Grand Floridian Resort opened on November 20th. After months of no real nighttime entertainment, the electrical water pageant returned to the Seven Seas Lagoon and Bay Lake on December 20th. 2020 was a hard reset for the Walt Disney World Resort and in many ways the Walt Disney Company. The present path that was leading to the 50th anniversary was thrown aside. Thousands of cast members were furloughed or even fired. 2021 would begin a movement back towards some sort of normalcy for the resort, but executives would see to it that Walt Disney World would never be the same again. Well, time sure flies. If you're enjoying this jump from time to time with us, please hit the like button and please subscribe for more. If you'd like to support this show and others, you can join the WDWNT Inner Globe Society at patreon.com/WDWNT. To grab the perfect gear to celebrate 50 years of Walt Disney World, head on over to Carousel of Products at carouselofproducts.com. We'll see you real soon for the conclusion of Timekeeping.